Hey everybody. So I'm gonna show a couple of screenshots first from a video that it's actually several videos that I've been watching, but it's all from the same person. But after this, I'm also going to show just a very small clip. I can't show much because, like I've said in my other videos, if I show too much of someone else's video, I will get a copyright strike and they'll completely take my video down. I've already had several videos taken down because of this exact reason. So unfortunately, all I can do is show you just a small portion, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the link to this video that I'm going to show y'all here in a minute. I'm going to put it down in the description box below, and I suggest watching it because you guys, this is going to be a man that, I'll show you who it is in a minute, but some of you may know him, some of you may not. And for those that do know him, some of you may have your own thoughts about him and stuff like that. I just don't know. But regardless of how you feel about him, if you have any negative thoughts about him, the fact is that everything that he's saying and showing correlates with every single thing that I have been researching on my very own, and I've been finding out this information for myself. So he's just confirming, everything that I've been finding. Him, and there's others out there who are doing the same thing, but I'm just going to use him as an example. But I want to start here. This is talking about Solomon and David, King David and King Solomon, saying how now this is from archaeology, okay? This is showing that, like, after digs and things, there is no proof that they have found whatsoever of any type of empire that existed from, the temple that Solomon built. And then this is another man, Donald Redford. He's expressing his frustration over the absence of anything to verify biblical stories. And this is talking about, the areas that were excavated, how nothing was found pertaining to Solomon and the temples. Nothing. And then here they're talking about how people believe such myths and they succeed in their purpose because they are attractive stories and convincing. If they were not, they would be useless. The popularity of myths cannot be any evidence of their truth. And then here they go on to say the absence of any historical confirmation of a Solomon simply does not deter biblicist scholars. God has told them there was a Solomon, so what scholarship can contradict it? So what they're saying is, well, God told me that it was there, and just because they say that, people don't contradict it. And here they're going on to say that those indoctrinated into biblical mythology as history might be surprised to know that the only evidence is the Bible. There are no other documentary records or archaeological evidence of it, nor are there any documentary records of King Solomon or any archaeological sites that can be attributed to a King Solomon, though some once were. Only biblicists stick to the former erroneous associations of certain buildings and gates with King Solomon. There is no unequivocal archaeological evidence of King Solomon at all. Then this goes on to say the I can't speak today, you guys. The antiquities scam exposed the gullibility of believers. And then this guy here, Israel Finkelstein, however you say that, noted. Well, let's see, let me skip all that. He observed that inscribed objects are extremely rare in proper archaeological digs in Palestine, and yet the antiquities market kept producing them by the cartload. So in other words, they weren't finding these objects. However, they were coming up with them. So, you know, you got to wonder where they came from, and because they certainly weren't the real thing, is what this is saying. And this right here breaks down what the meaning of the name Solomon means. It's all sun god worship, you guys. Is what this all means right here. And then here it says Solomon is the name of the sun in 3 different languages. And this too is breaking down Solomon's name, you know, who was born to King David. But I wrote up here, I was comparing Joseph to this last part of Solomon, the O-N, the on, because it was Potiphar's wife. Potiphar was the high priest of On, okay? And it was, you know, it was all about sun god worship. Worshipping Ra, the sun god, is what it was all about. But anyway, it was Potiphar, the high priest of On, who, it was his daughter that married Joseph. And it was Ra, the sun god, the Pharaoh, who put the scarab beetle signet ring on Joseph's finger and gave him the second highest position in Egypt. And here, this is in another video that I was watching about the Elohim, talking about, you know, the Genesis 1:1, which again, that 1:1 is the 11. You put it together, and that is the twin serpent system. Right there is what that is. Like I said, you always have to be cautious of these numbers here in the scriptures, because a lot of them, when they line up to the occult numbers, the scriptures match up with the occult exactly. But anyway, this is talking about the Elohim, and I'm going to show you something else here, you know, about that in a minute. But it means God, as you see there. And here it's talking about Elohim, how in most cases it means the plural, as in more than one God. And it does not mean the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. That is not what Elohim means. It means the, you know, more than one of the gods. Okay, that's what that means. But in the creation story, if you go back and read it again, and if you start learning the Hebrew meanings to all these words, you're going to see that it was not one God. It was not God who created us. It was multiple gods. And who knows how many, because I don't know if there's a place that says that. I haven't found it yet. But it was plural, meaning more than one. The word Elohim is a plural word. In Hebrew, the plural form of a noun ends in im or ot. Elohim is the plural form of Eloah. And this right here is the very rare form. It's very rare that you find this in the Bible, the singular form. And here it's saying, the Elohim, we shall make humans in our image. They're the ones who created the earth and heavens and created humans. Okay, these, and it's Jordan Maxwell is the man that I was talking about a minute ago, okay? And again, let me say this again. For anybody that knows him, if you have any negative, you know, thoughts about him or whatever, just let me say again, regardless of what you think of him, if you do have any negative thoughts towards him, everything he is saying is completely confirming and backing up every single thing I have been looking into over the past 10 years. It's everything he's saying. You guys, I didn't want to believe all this in the beginning. I did not, and I still have many questions. I still have so many questions. But I want to start here with this photo, because this is a photo, or well, it's not a photo. It's just a, you know, painting of the baby Jesus. And notice how he's got a glowing sun around his head. And this is Mary and baby Jesus. He's He's got the sun around him. That's what that is. You'll see how this is the sun god worship symbol around his head. But this, Mary, is the virgin, which is Virgo. It's who this is. Here's another young Jesus with the sun around him. And here's another one. As he's getting older, he's got the bright sun around him. And another one, and I know you can't see it very well, but it's got the cross in the middle of it. This is the sun god worship symbol. This is a painting of Mary, and I noticed that she has all black eyes, but this is her holding her son, Jesus, and she's holding the sun, S-U-N. I've been telling y'all, Jesus is not who we think he is, you guys. And here's Mary again, holding her son, S-U-N. And at one point, Jordan says in his video, both baby Jesus and grown-up Jesus are trying to show you what it all symbolizes. Sun worship. Here's Mary and baby Jesus. He's holding the sun right there. Again, Mary and Jesus. He's holding up the sun. Here's adult Jesus. At the Last Supper, I guess, he's holding up the sun. Again, Jesus. There's the bright sun around him. The worship of Jesus is actually sun god worship. I told y'all the Bible has us worshiping the wrong gods, you guys. And notice how, the church services is always on Sunday mornings. That's because Sunday is the worship of the sun. Sunday. And here, in this video here by Jordan called How Horus Became the Model for Jesus, he's talking about there are some that never realizing there is no Lord Jesus. And then he goes on to say how the whole story of the Bible is nothing but astrology. And then he goes on to say, and of course the Christian church has always used the same ancient sun symbol to represent Jesus, God's Son, as the light of the world. God's S-U-N. And this is a 12,000-year-old petroglyph of the sun. And this is a symbol for Jesus Christ. It's the same thing, you guys. See that X? That's what I was showing y'all earlier. I said y'all couldn't probably make it out very well, but it's got the cross, the X, and the sun symbol. And here's the sun symbol here. And this is a priest, a priest of the sun. He's got the sun around his head, and he's got all these crosses and the sun god worship symbols there. And this is the Catholic Church holding up the round, I can't remember what you call that thing. It's whatever, I'm pulling a blank as to what they call that. I can't remember, you guys. Some of y'all will know. It's supposed to be Jesus's body, okay? The bread, that's what it is. But notice how he's holding it up to the sun god worship symbol. And on this is another cross. The same symbol that's right here is on this as well. So that whenever the people are taking a bite or putting this in their mouth, they're eating part of the sun is what it's all about. And this is from different high schools that get together. And they it's called Meet Me at the Pole or something like that, but they gather around the sun god worship thing, not knowing that's what it is. They have no idea that's what that is. To them, they think they're getting together to worship Jesus Christ, but that is the sun god worship symbol right there. Then Jordan goes on to say, we also saw that sun worship was not confined to Christians, but Jews worship their sun god, Yahweh or Jehovah. And then I wrote down here, Jehovah Witnesses as well. And this is Moses praying to the sun right here. And that's Jesus with the sun god worship around him. I spelled Buddha wrong. Sorry about that. I should have put 2 D's, but I didn't. Anyway, this is Buddha attending to a sick person in bed with the sun halo around his head. This is Jesus doing the same exact thing with the sun halo around his head. And then I wrote, like the Ouroboros, the story keeps reinventing itself. And last, we found the Hindu god Krishna was one of the ancient models used for Jesus. And here they're talking about Krishna, the Christ of ancient Egypt. And you guys, this was before Jesus. All this was taking place before the story of Jesus came into effect, okay? But anyway, it says here, only after the council of I can't say that name, sorry, was a sacrificial human victim with the head of Apollonius of Tynes put on the cross in place of the lamb to represent the crucified Christ, Now we see Christianity today is a retelling of the greatest story ever told. The war between God's Son and the evil prince of darkness. In ancient Egypt, the prince of darkness was called Set. If you don't know who Set is, you may want to look that up. And this is part of this video. Like I said, I can only play just very small clips, and I'm sorry, but I am going to put the link. Hold on, you guys. Okay, here we go.
On the left, Buddha is attending to a sick person in bed, and on the right, Jesus, being God's Son, also attending to a sick person in bed. The ideas are the same. And last, we found that the Hindu god Krishna was one of the ancient models used for Jesus. Very important. We find that the Hindu god Krishna was one of the ancient models used for Jesus. So we see the links between the Christos, or Krishna, and Latin, the Christ. Christ, Krishna, Christos goes back to Lord Krishna, or the Christ one. And the Hindu pantheon, let's go back and remember that. Krishna, Christos, Christ. And the Hindu pantheon by Sir Edward Moore. There's a whole article here about the crucified Krishna. Krishna was crucified in space with the solar radiance above him. The article says Krishna, the Christ of ancient India, who was crucified about 3000 BC, was the prototype for the crucified Jesus. Down on the bottom it says, only after the Council of Constantinople was a sacrificial human victim with the head of Apollonius of Tyana put on the cross in place of the lamb that used to represent the crucified Christ. What this is saying is that before the Council of Constantinople, there was no human or Jesus, man, hanging on a cross in Christianity nowhere. It was only after the Roman Council of Constantinople that it was decided by the church fathers they needed to put a human on the cross. This is history.
Okay, you guys, that is all I can play of that. I wish I could play more, but, you know, I highly suggest watching this. I'm also, like I said, I'm going to put this down in the description box below, but I'm also going to put a couple of more links from him that I think are just as important to watch, because again, for the third time me saying it, I don't mean to keep repeating myself, but I think it's that important. You know, if you know who Jordan Maxwell is, regardless if you have any negative thoughts towards him or not, every single thing that he is saying and showing is lining up with the exact things I have been finding. about Jesus, about the Bible, about all of it. So, that's all I can say about that. But I'm going to include this, like I said, at the bottom, and then I'm going to include a few more. And just, if you get the time, I highly suggest watching them, because as I've been saying all along, we have been so deceived, and he agrees. He agrees that we have been so deceived. He believes in a higher power, in God. But I've never just come out and heard him say, and it's he very well could in one of his videos. He's got so many, there's no way you can watch them, or I just don't have time to watch them all. But anyway, I've never heard him come out and say, what God he's worshiping. I just don't know. The only thing I hear him say is we need to figure this out and come to the realization that we have been deceived. We've been worshiping the wrong gods, and that we better start worshiping the correct God. But who that God is still my question. Who is it? How do we find that out? There's got to be a way, and that is my whole thing, because I'm not going to stop till I find out, you guys. I'm just not going to stop. I'm going to keep looking, because it's that important to me. But anyway, I'm going to go, you guys. Y'all take care, be safe, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye.